Could the election season get any worse? Terrible candidates, non-stop coverage of the Donald, and an almost complete refusal to focus on issues that matter to real Americans. Well, brace yourselves, because the 2016 elections could get even more rigged than they already are. The culprit? Google. I know, we're not really all that shocked, but in a recent article in Politico, psychologist Robert Epstein discusses the influence Google wields on voters' candidate selection. Studies conducted in the US, India, and the UK show that voter selection was influenced just by tweaking the algorithm on which search engines are based. In some cases, the voting preferences of undecided voters shifted by 20%. The effect is known as SEAM, or Search Engine Manipulation Effect. And according to Epstein, because SEAM is virtually invisible as a form of social influence, because the effect is so large, and because there are currently no specific regulations anywhere in the world that would prevent Google from using and abusing this technique, we believe SEAM is a serious threat to the democratic system of government. So there you go. Another story that matters that the mainstream media is unlikely to cover. Unfortunately for us Hawk Watchers, SEAM doesn't seem like something we can let slip by unnoticed.
You definitely can't, because in today's world, we are so dependent on search engines. And
Yeah.
if you do a search and that algorithm only shows you, let's say, necessarily the bad or the unproven accusations of a candidate, or things like that, or you don't hear, you don't get in that column, elements of like, oh, this could better inform me or something of that nature. It's gonna play a role in how you look at these things. That's a powerful. It's a powerful sword to wield if you're Google.
And you have to remember that Google is a money-making venture.
Ooh, yeah.
They're not a public service, although some people like to believe they are. They're a money-making venture, so there's a lot of scenarios that play into the idea that somebody could, pay them. I mean, the government gets to go
pressure,
dig through their stuff. People pay to have, that's search engine optimization. There's an entire business built, billions of dollars built on tricking the system so that your stuff comes, because most people don't look past the first page of Google. But in this studies, what they did is they had 3 scenarios specifically that you could see this, and the third one is honestly the scariest. So the first one is that a Google exec decides to up the results of a favored candidate, but this is pretty dangerous if they get caught. But whether they ever get caught or not is
no.
Yeah, who knows? Scenario 2 involves a rogue Google employee decides to change the algorithm, which we know the rogue Google employee kind of messing with algorithms has in fact happened in the past. But the really, really, really scary part is scenario 3, where the computer algorithm itself unfairly favors a certain candidate, and the company can just pass it off as a result of user search activity. So if the algorithm itself starts seeing certain things, they're assuming we're calling them people. It's the robots have taken over. But the algorithm makes the assumption because of because of the algorithm, that because people are searching for something, it becomes popular, and that must mean good. Popular means good in Google.
And that's what's scary. And what's interesting is that they're actually saying, there's certain studies into this, that Google may have actually determined the election data in India this past year. The search results were highest for the winner of that election, Narendra Modi, and the study showed that among some parts of the population, this changed voter preference from between 20 to 60%. That's a huge percentage in change in voter preference for this candidate. And if Google's search engine, Google's algorithm is manipulating that, that's some serious business that we have to really take a look at and see how we can fix.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at this current election, you have someone like Trump who is the top of searches for political candidates in something like 47 out of 50 states. That doesn't necessarily mean, I know Donald Trump can be confused about this. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're the most popular and everybody likes you. It's just that you're searching. But it's an algorithm, it's not a person, and that's why, you have 50% of all clicks go to the top 2 choices, of 90% go to the first page. So like I said, people don't look past the first page on things, and 70% of searches occur on Google in the United States. So what we're searching for and looking through here in the United States is affecting other areas and what they're seeing. It's kind of, it's all an algorithm. We're just being reduced to numbers.
And I got to throw it out there quickly. at the end, even if it is the algorithm, you also have to be careful as a company by who you associate with, because Google has a lot of ties to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
That if there is some strange thing, that could come back to bite them.
Right. There'll at least be questions, and there will be things looking into, and it'll happen. And I don't blame them that if suddenly it shows up that way.
Always dangerous. Always dangerous. Whoa. All right. As we go to break, Hawk Watchers, don't forget to let us know what you think of the topics we've covered on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. Coming up, Manar Mahawish steps into the Hawk's Nest to discuss the staggering number of Muslim casualties as a result of the war on terror. Stay tuned to Watching the Hawks.